How's it going, everyone? And welcome to another episode of me documenting my trading journey. So, today's Monday. I usually don't take trades on Mondays. I usually just go over what I want to see for this coming week. So, that's what we're going to do. So, starting off with news, we had some news today. But again, I don't really trade Mondays, so uh, that doesn't really matter for me, except obviously the data that is important, but for me to take a trade, it doesn't matter. And then tomorrow we don't really have anything. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday though we have FOMC, core PCE, and then CPI. So this is important data for me to get more to give me more of a clear bias and direction on the pairs that I'm looking at, especially CPI, because if CPI comes in at 3.4%, that means we're going to see bullish dollar. Um, since we can since the FOMC can keep rates higher for longer, and then since inflation is rising, it could potentially cause them to increase rates, which will also increase the dollar or make dollar bullish. So now that we've talked about that, I did look at dollar for a little bit, and then I'll just go over what I want to see for this week. So we did break the area that I was looking at last week. So now what I wanted to do is either reaccumulate, and then I'll take an accumulation to take it higher, or I wanted to break this accumulation and give a schematic down here, since I don't really want to play anything here because this didn't really do anything. So yeah, those are the two scenarios, and we're still bullish from this area here. So we're still in this leg. So yeah, it can keep coming lower, and I'll still look for a schematic to take higher. And then since that is dollar, it's pretty much the same on euro. So let's see. So euro, it didn't break, but dollar broke, so that's where I'm basing these trades off of. So yeah, for euro, I either want it to redistribute, and then I'll play either a continuation move, a redistribution down, or I wanted to pull back and then give something in this order flow redistribution to take lower, to and then targeting this low. If it breaks above here, then I don't really want to take anything. It'll just be more based on what the dollar's doing, since this is mitigation of this distribution up here, but this distro, looking at just like solely this chart, it didn't make a new low, so it didn't do anything. So if it comes up here, I'll just be looking at dollar and see what it gives. But other than that, these are my two scenarios. And then for GU, so GU, so it did come into this 50%. So now, pretty much the same thing. I either want it to make a new low. Since we're already this far down, I either want it to make a new low, and then I'll play a pullback to show here, or I want it to go higher. And then distribute here, and then target a new low. Since we went from here to this leg, made a new low, mitigated it, and then made a new low. So we're in this leg right here. So those are the things I want to see for GU. NU. So NU did make a new low. So just following order flow, following this redistro, probably play something here. There's no manipulation here. So I kind of see this as a schematic, an accumulation. So I kind of want it to go above and then give something up here. Shake out these sellers, these weekend sellers, and then target a new low. And if it doesn't do that, I don't know, if it does break this low, I'll either put small risk or it just might not be worth it because this hasn't really shaken out anything. And it's just an accumulation with no shakeout. So I'd want to see it shake out, come up here, and then give something. And then AU is probably, so AU is, there is divergence between the two. So this was what I was looking at last week. I did miss this trade just because it didn't go far enough to hit my alert. So I either want it to, so let's see. So broke there. But it didn't do anything. So let's go lower time frame. So it did distribute here. It's just really ugly. Really ugly distribution. What I want to see is if, so this looks like an accumulation to me. So it also depends on what NU is doing, but kind of want it to shake out this. I don't want to take anything from here just because it is an ugly distro. And then if it can redistribute, then I'll look to play something. Because then we'll be in the downwards cycle. See if it can redistribute. And then I'll play a pullback. Hopefully ideally I'd want the redistro to at least break this just for it to have done something. That'll be ideal. Or obviously ideally we confirm the larger redistro. Because it is still following order flow of this redistro. We had this distribution, we had this mitigation of this, which then broke this piece of order flow, and then where we distributed out of it. So it might be worth, if it'll be small risk, but if it can give a shakeout, or I'll play a shakeout of this accumulation, and then it gives something here, I might look to play depending on what day or the time. That also could be a play. And then to target a new low. It also to be dependent on what NU is doing. Let's see. I'd want to see, in order for me to really take this, I'd want to see NU break this low, just to give weakness, just to confirm the weakness. If not, then I probably will not take something from here. And I'd want to come higher into where I initially had my alerts. This doesn't really mean anything to me because this was the mitigation. It didn't make a new low, so this doesn't hold anything for me. So I'd want to see it go higher if it does. If it does break this distribution. And then USD CAD. USD CAD is just in the middle of nowhere for me, so I'm not really gonna look at it. JPY though, So it did accumulate in this leg, and then we did have this reaccumulation. Reaccumulated. Swept out Asian into this area, and then made a new high. Okay, so this is looking pretty clean. I would have wanted to break this redistribution, but it did reaccumulate. So this is a distribution. Did reaccumulate here. So if it can give something here. Actually, this is pretty clean. Swept out all these buyers and reaccumulated. I wouldn't have had a schematic a limit here. That was Monday too, so yeah, especially not that early in the week. But it did reaccumulate. So now I want to see it come to these areas. And then to take higher. If it breaks this reaccumulation, since this accumulation didn't do anything for me, I don't really want to play anything. Since, I mean, this accumulation couldn't even break a redistro, so I'd want to see it come lower. But it did go past. Okay, so that's what I want to see. And then I'll take this accumulation to target a new high. But if it doesn't, then I'm not gonna play anything until it goes lower. Alright, so now let's look at UChef. So UChef, same thing. I'd want to see it reaccumulate before I do anything. Either reaccumulate or it just goes lower. And then I'll take something. So it's pretty straightforward. And let's look at indices. So indices were still in this news candle leg. So this is all, it did reaccumulate. So this is, so it looks like it is distributing. There's just no manipulation. So ideally, I'd want to see a sweep and then maybe a micro up here, because this is the fourth drive, to sweep out all this. And then that'll be like a larger distro. Since we are, even though it did reaccumulate, we're still bearish from this news candle leg. So that's what I'd want to see. It's looking like it's setting up to be like that. So hopefully I have an alert above this area, and then look for something. Look for a schematic. And Nasdaq, let's see. So Nasdaq, we're still bearish from this news candle leg. We did break this, so this is not important. And then same thing. I'd want it to, so this is the distro. I want to see it give a micro. This will be the larger distribution. I want to see it sweep out all this. These weak-handed sellers. Give a micro up here. And then take down to make a new low. Okay. So that's the same as SPX, and then US 30. So US 30 is going to be a little bit different. So we are still in this bearish news candle leg, but if it goes higher, it's going to break. So if I do take a trade, it'll either have to come up into this area, or I'll have to look at what SPX and Nasdaq are doing and take a trade based off that. Because this isn't as clean as the other two. So we did reaccumulate here too. So yeah, there's doesn't really, if it goes higher, doesn't really look like there's room for it to give a schematic. So yeah, that's what I'd want to see it do. What I'd want US 30 to do. So that's all the pairs. USHF. I'm not looking at USD CAD. It's not really in an area. All right, so that's my plan for this week. Let me know if you have any questions on my thought process, and I'll try and answer them. But yeah, that's it for this episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Like and subscribe. See you guys then.